And the Nigerian Center for Disease Control and CDC has announced 1,664 new cases of COVID-19 as community spread of the virus increases across the country. Out of the new infections, Lagos has 642, the FCT has 407, Plateau has 160, Kaduna 83, Rivers has 62, Adamawa 47, Nasarawa 38, Abia 29, and Edo has 28. Also, Anambra recorded 27, Niger and Ogun 24 each, Imo 15, Oyo 14, Kano and Osun confirmed 12 each. Borno has 9, while Delta and Enugu have 7 new infections each. Others are Bauchi, Ekiti and Sokoto with 5 each, ending with Jigawa, which has 2 new cases. Total number of confirmed cases in Nigeria has risen to 94,339 with 77,299 patients discharged and some 1,324 deaths on record. Meanwhile, as the nation continues to battle the second wave of the coronavirus pandemic, medical experts in Lagos have cautioned Nigerians to continue to protect themselves. They say, unlike the first wave, the second is characterized with a newly mutilated form which is easily transmitted and more deadly. And a partnership for expanded water supply, sanitation and hygiene, P-WASH, launched in 2016, is one of the programs deployed by the government of the day to turn around the discerning statistics of access to water supply in Nigeria. And now 4 years down the lane, P-WASH has brought some gains to hundreds of rural communities in the pilot states of Kano and Ogun, and beneficiaries are taking ownership of about 800 water supply projects executed so far.
2.4 million Nigerians have gained access to water supply in the last 12 months.
We've organized ourselves as the maintaining group. We were raising 200 naira per family to sustain it, and per house is 500 naira. Those that have it extended into their compound.
This to contribute the money is fair. It's better, far better than to buy water.
The process of ratifying the electoral vote to give way for the inauguration of Joe Biden by the U.S. Congress is still in progress following protests which disrupted the sitting. Now, the protest followed President Trump's statement to continue to contest the result of the election. Angry supporters of President Donald Trump stormed the U.S. Capitol, marching through the building, shouting and waving Trump and American flags, and forcing a halt to congregational deliberations over challenges to Joe Biden's electoral college victory. And the U.S. Constitution provides that the Senate and House must meet to officially count and ratify the Electoral College result from all 50 states and Washington. President-elect Joe Biden has called on the protesters to respect the Constitution of their country and call of the protest. He also appealed to President Donald Trump to step up and talk to the protesters. And that concludes the morning news highlight. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Jume and Kieran shortly after the break.
A scorecard like no other. Government has put in place measures and initiatives principally targeted at youths, women, and the most vulnerable groups in our society. These included broad plan to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in the next 10 years, the creation of 75 billion Naira National Youth Investment Fund to provide opportunities for the youths, and the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Survivor Fund, through which government is A. Paying 3-month salaries of the staff of 100,000 micro, small and medium enterprises. B. Paying for the registration of 250,000 businesses at the Corporate Affairs Commission. C. Giving a grant of 30,000 Naira to 100,000 artisans and guaranteeing market for the product of traders. These are in addition to many other initiatives such as farmer money, trader money, market money, N-Power, N-Tech, and N-Agro. These and more in spite of a recession and a global pandemic. Although social media as a channel of communication is inherently harmless, it becomes harmful and damaging when used without discretion and thoughtfulness. Bad social media users spread rumors and fake news without verification. But good social media users stop, reflect, and verify information before sharing it. Be a good social media user. Stop the spread of fake news. Verify the authenticity of your source and use social media responsibly for a better Nigeria. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, in collaboration with the National Orientation Agency. The Council of Our Fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Life can be very eventful. We curiously expect things to happen, even when we don't know what. Our human nature makes us like and repost lots of information. Some are unverified, inciting anger and hate. Sometimes innocently, other times the urge to break it first. This, in most cases, has caused destruction in many nations.
Dear customer, link your Airtel number to your national identification number today. Here are easy ways you can do it. Dial *121*1# on your Airtel line and follow the prompts on the screen. Type in your 11-digit government-approved NIN number. You will receive a confirmation message to confirm your entry. You can also visit www.airtel.com.ng/NIN to link your phone number to your NIN. If you do not know your NIN, simply dial *346# to get it. No stress, no wahala.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
And you're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Now, let's go business. Nigeria Customs Service gives update on 2020 revenue generation. Let's now join Kunle Adeyeye for details of that package.
The Nigeria Customs Service says it generated over 1.5 trillion naira in year 2020. Public Relations Officer of the service, Joseph Attar, in a statement disclosed that the amount realized in year 2020 surpassed its target of 1.3 trillion naira for the year, which is also more than 1.34 trillion naira generated in 2019. The statement further states that the Comptroller General of Customs, Hamid Ali, attributed the feat to the resolute pursuit of what is right and willingness to adapt to changes brought about by the global health challenges occasioned by COVID-19. The customs boss emphasized that the service revenue generation profile has been on the increase based on the ongoing reforms and pledged the service readiness to diligently implement the outcome of the diplomatic engagements as the land borders are reopened. And here are the details of Wednesday's tradings on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. With business news, I'm Kunle Adeyeye.
Thank you, Kunle, for that package. Our newspaper review is up next.
Now it's time for newspaper review. We are yet to see our daily reviewer by our table. For now, let's begin with the Punch newspaper, which I here present. And above the nameplate of the Punch newspaper, we have Sultan's JNI tackles Kuka, says Christmas sermon targets Islam. That's on page 18 of the Punch newspaper. Private public institutions providing names in villages, says federal government. Customs revenue rises, generates 1.56 trillion naira in 1 year. That story is on page 19. As a matter of fact, both stories is on page 19. That of private public institutions providing names in villages, says federal government, is on page 19 as well. Now, below the nameplate, we have the lead story this morning on Punch newspaper. Federal government needs over 2.44 trillion naira to vaccinate 165 million Nigerians. That's on page 2. And that has three major riders. He said, don't go for vaccine not suitable for our storage facilities, Tomori tells government. Now, vaccination, not substitute for adherence to COVID-19 protocols, according to virologists. Now, SGF, Minister of Health, others in line to take vaccine dosage first. All right, now the photo story on the Punch newspaper shows applicants at the Nigerian Identity Management Commission office for their national identity number registration in Abuja. That picture tells a lot of stories now, because I'm not sure there's any COVID-19 protocol being observed in that photo story. But that's another aspect of the conversation we shall have this morning on Super Review. All right, below that we have a certificate forgery suit. Obaseki closes defense as ex-VC testifies. The story is on page 7. Kansiek disqualifies 6 candidates, alleges drug test failure. Kansiek is a Kano State State Electoral Commission. It disqualifies 6 candidates, alleges drug test failure. It's on page 18. Now, power-drunk NSDC officer attacks newsman, destroys Punch man's camera. That's on page 4. Now, below is Bello meets Buhari, expresses frustration over Niger's worsening security. Bello actually is the governor of Niger State. The story is on page 7. 50 FCT dispatch riders arrested to undergo medical tests. It's on page 11. Now, 14 killed as cement-laden truck and the bus crash in Kogi State. It's also on page 7.
And right now, our newspaper reviewer, Bayo Toby, is in the studio. Good morning, Bayo. You seem to have run a little bit late.
Bayo, you're welcome.
Well, let's now go to the Daily Trust newspaper, and just below the masthead, we have village heads inviting bandits. That's attributed to Niger State Governor. You find details on page 3. Agric-based SMEs to get 6 years tax holiday. You find details on page 19. COVID-19 bites hard as more Nigerians die. Details on page 4. Labour kicks as Kano cuts salaries. With Rider, other states can't even pay. That's attributed to the commissioner in Kano. Some of us got less than 18,000. Civil servants are lamenting there. Decision illegal. That's coming from the labor union. And the picture story you see there, the shocking episode that happened in the US yesterday. You see Trump supporters out there protesting in Los Angeles, California yesterday. Trump supporters clashed with police and security forces as people tried to storm the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. yesterday. And supporters listen as U.S. President Donald Trump speaks on the LC outside of the White House in Washington, D.C. Chaos in D.C. as Trump supporters invade Capitol. You find all the details on page 7. Just at the bottom plate of the Daily Trust newspaper, 22 die in Kogi road crashes. You find details on page 38. Woman 24 arrested for faking own kidnap. You find that on page 27. And consumers groan over high electricity tariff. Details on page 18.
All right, we have a number of stories here actually, and some are very, very interesting, especially that of the issue of vaccination, which of course is now the most current when it comes to COVID-19, globally speaking. And Punch newspaper captured it here. Federal government needs to over 2.44 trillion naira to vaccinate 165 million Nigerians. And these riders also make sense. I think Bayo is ready to join us here now. Don't go for vaccine not suitable for our storage facilities. Then vaccination not substitute for adherence to COVID-19 protocols. And then SGF, Minister of Health, others in line to take vaccine dosage first. Bayo, you may like to start with this vaccine issue.
Yes, let's start with the issue of the vaccination. The advice there that we should go for vaccine suitable for our climate is referring to the Pfizer non-biotech vaccine, which has to be stored at -70 degrees centigrade. The same thing goes for the Moderna vaccine. And therefore, what the advantage we have here is that AstraZeneca vaccine can be stored in normal refrigerator, and that is what is being referred to there, that is conducive for our own climate, because we have challenge in storing the vaccine at -70 degrees. That is an Antarctic temperature. That's it. But talking about the cost of the vaccine, the Punch is doing some arithmetic because they are looking at what the information that was given by the National Primary Healthcare, saying that we are going to have 42 million doses of vaccine, and this, according to the report, is going to be free, but it will only cover 20% of our Nigerian population. So the Punch computed that we now have 164 million Nigerians who are not covered outside that 40 million. And they calculated at Pfizer vaccine at about $19.5 for a dose, and everybody is requiring 2 doses. That's $39, and that's how they arrive at the sum of 2.44 trillion that has to be paid to be able to get every Nigerian vaccinated. But be that as it may, the alarm is still on. Yesterday we had as many as 1,664 new cases, and unfortunately we lost 5 of our competitors to COVID-19. And the epicenters are still the same area. Lagos had as high as 642. FCT 407, Plateau 170, Kaduna 83, and Rivers 62. Again, we are now beginning to see the examination result we did when we abandoned the COVID-19 protocols during the Yuletide period for our celebrations. This is the result that we are beginning to see now. But we need to be more careful. On the issue of bandits, Governor Sani Bello of Niger State is lamenting that bandits are totally out of control in Niger. And he laments that they are coming through the international borders because Niger State has border with Benin Republic. And he says that the criminals are recruited from within and outside Nigeria through the social media. And that is the danger, because the Islamic State West Africa is recruiting persons through the social media across the West African sub-region. And he says that traditional rulers and some natives are the ones inviting the bandits. But he says his administration will deal with that. But however, he has ruled out anything that has to do with negotiations. But he said because initially he was reluctantly considering it, but he found out that they are not honest. And so we call them bandits, but he said they are actually criminals, armed robbers. And Niger State has a landmass of about 73,000 square kilometers. Presently, it is about the size of all the 5 southeasties put together. Indeed, by the time part of Kwara was excised to join part of Niger, yes, Niger State is currently the largest state in Nigeria. It has the largest landmass. And as we often say, the bigger the head, the bigger the headache. And that's why we're having all these myriads of challenges. On the issue that Kirian raised earlier on about people apparently on a run to the National Identity Registration Centers, the NCC says that there will be no mass disconnection of telephone subscribers. This was the panic that led people to rush on. So people can take their time. It was part of the
statement that was released, yes, when the NIN registration and, to merge with bank accounts or not. That was, if you don't do it by the 16th of January, your line will be disconnected.
Well, so what they are saying now that your lines will not be disconnected, and so there's no need for panic. Incidentally, I went by a NIN registration center yesterday. You need to see the masses of persons there. Social distancing has completely been jettisoned, and the organization was very, very poor because there was a lot of disorderliness.
Part of our problem in this country is planlessness.
Yes.
Planlessness. And perhaps because of division of powers, someone could just rise up from his office and make a statement. If you issue a statement saying, look, that on so date, which is about 2 weeks, that you're going to cut people off their lines because you do not have names, without taking cognizance of the fact that names did not go round. People do not have that. Not everybody that registered even has a number. Yes. What about people in the villages? We have more Nigerians in rural areas than city centers. So what are you now trying to do? You now want to excommunicate those who are in the rural areas. So why won't people rush? And when people are rushing, they are queuing up. We can look at the crowd we're talking about. And talking about COVID-19. And again, from the figures we're getting, COVID-19 is really coming in. It's really coming in. And as a matter of fact, we don't wish anything, we don't wish ourselves any evil, but as it is, if you know what happened in America and in Europe, COVID-19 is not different. And we're talking about the new variant, right? Which is easily very potent, and very dangerous. So these are the things that we're talking about. And if things are well planned, there's no reason why people should rush. And I don't even see the reason why you should give a deadline for people to register names and what have you.
Brigade approach.
We're talking about criminals who are in the hinterland. We're talking about bandits who are in their hundreds, if not thousands, attacking communities now in Niger State and other parts of the northern Nigeria. That is what I should call security issues that we should have. I know that it's good to tackle security matters using names, numbers, and all of that. That is quite okay. But what is biting the country presently are the people in the bush, the bandits, unmanned areas, or governed areas. They have government of their own. They have guns, very superb ones as well. They have mobility. They're mobilized.
Ironically, that's one of the reasons why they are doing the NIN. For security purposes, to be able to track these criminals who are calling people and extorting money. This is one of the reasons. And it will interest you what the Nigerian Communication Commission is saying. They say their survey showed that there are 4 to 5 SIMs to every individual. So, and if you have NIN like I have, I didn't have to go anywhere. At my home on the social media, I've been able to link my NIN, my national identification number, which I didn't have. I sought it from the internet, and I have been able to link it up to with my SIMs.
But how many people can use that technology?
If you have the NIN, you can. But those who had not registered a priori, those are the ones that are the challenge, and they are in the majority, especially among the youths.
I think that banditry in Nigeria is business. It's not business. Because yes, if the governor of Niger State could complain that some village heads are inviting bandits, then it is business somewhere.
He has been complaining.
Some people are making money out of it. That's why they're still there. They're in Katsina, they're in part of Kaduna, they're elsewhere, they're in Zamfara.
Traditional rulers were suspended.
Exactly.
For relations with bandits.
But what happened after that?
What?
That's the million-dollar question. What happened after the suspension? So it's back to business as usual.
American democracy yesterday saw one of its biggest challenges. President Donald Trump invited his supporters and challenged them to have their voice heard at the Capitol Hill. They invaded the Capitol Hill. One woman was shot. She later died. One policeman was injured and rushed to the hospital. As at the last count, 26 persons have been arrested. The whole idea was to stop the recount of the electoral votes, which was supposed to go on. Unfortunately, they didn't succeed. The president-elect challenged the president to call off his mob that has descended on the Capitol Hill. Eventually, he had to do so.
He did so with a lot of underlying issues. Yes.
You know, for the first time in the history of American democracy, that a sitting president who was defeated, you know, in an election, has been concocting all manner of issues, trying to truncate the votes in America. It has never happened in the history of America. You have been voted. This man had more than 10 cases that he took to court. 16 cases, right?
And all of them
lost all of them, including the one at the Supreme Court, where he nominated the judges, and they threw it out. He's not satisfied yet. He's still doing. So for me, yesterday, it was for me, it was laughable to see such a democracy being decimated.
It was shocking.
It's still ongoing.
Yeah, it's still ongoing.
The objection now that has stalled the counting is that of Pennsylvania. They are voting now in the House for the objection. As at the last count, President-elect Biden and Harry had 244 votes, and Donald Trump had 157 votes confirmed. When they finish the objection and come back, they will continue, and it will not be any difficulty for President-elect Biden to score the 270 required votes. In fact, he's going to get about 302 votes.
About 300, yes.
Yes, the shock waves just, it was just kept going and going. Well,
there's some good news on the part of the Nigerian custom, and it will shock many people. In spite of the COVID-19 that devastated the nation in 2020, Nigeria Customs Services say that they were able to generate 1.562 trillion as revenue for 2020. And this exceeded their target, which was 1.38 trillion, by 181 billion. In fact, we didn't have coronavirus disturb us in 2019. In 2019, they were able to register what was about 222 billion, less than what they registered this time. So, in spite of COVID-19, the Nigerian Customs have been able to do well. And one other challenge is this. They now have had electronic scanners, 7 of them. The Ministry of Finance acquired about 3 for them, and the central bank is processing about 4. And they say that if they are able to have the scanners, they will be able to carry out the activities more rapidly. And at the end, if they are able to complete, they are going to have about 300 and how many scanners to cover all the 135 scanners to cover all the activities in the country. And that will go a long way in delaying, eliminating the essence of delay. You will be shocked to find out that they say that the process of clearing the freight from China to Nigeria is cheaper and faster than clearing the freight from the port out of Lagos into Lagos City.
Yes.
All right, now to the editorial this morning from the Nation newspaper. Undirected challenge. COVID-19 is ravaging fiercely, but we seem to be defying it, and it's a shadow of death. Well, the truth is the challenge is real, enormous and dangerous. Recent fatality count from the pandemic include former University of Lagos Vice Chancellor Professor Oyewusi Bidapo-Obe, and former National Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies Director Professor Habu Galadima, among others. His comedian Ali Baba says he is only fortunate to be a survivor. And if I read also what Ali Baba said, he said that, look, where he was staying at the COVID center, that he personally saw 5 people on a day that were removed from there who died. As a matter of fact, as a comedian well known in Nigeria, he's making it known to people that look, there is COVID-19, and he has been affected, and he didn't have a very beautiful Christmas because of that. So I hope many Nigerians will just take a leaf of that, because some people still believe it doesn't exist.
Yes. I think the editorial is reminding us that COVID-19 is real and is a threat to everybody. And the only way to be safe until there are vaccinations available is to observe the COVID-19 protocol. Protect yourself. COVID-19 has no legs, it doesn't work. It is we that work to meet COVID-19. And unless you protect yourself, you are vulnerable. And that myth that it is only for a certain class of people has been broken. The danger now is the new variant that is more deadly and more devastating. And we all need to observe our COVID protocols.
And the variant is a result of mutation. You know, viruses mutate with time, you know.
Naturally. Viruses are known to mutate after a while. They change forms and then take new shape.
Okay, Bayo, thanks so much for your contribution this morning.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. This is Good Morning Nigeria. We'll take a break now. When we return, our conversation will begin.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together. Nigerian youths are about the greatest assets the country has at the moment. It is therefore not surprising that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari is strategically responding to the yearnings of the youth through multiple projects and programs. Youth entrepreneurship support years by Bank of Industry, the Youth Investment Fund by the CBN, and several other conditional cash transfer programs. Recruitment of 774,000 social workers, majority of whom are youths, and so many other projects that are beneficial to youths directly or indirectly. If the administration can do all this, definitely with a degree of patience and time, it can achieve more. Nigerian youths must come together to say no to terrorism, no to vandalism, and no to all disruptive tendencies. Hashtag Youth for Greater Nigeria. Pacifying the youths, unifying the nation.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous, whether you do it for fun or for political gains. Real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
Disinfect and protect your home with Jik. Jik kills 99.9% of illness-causing germs. Disinfect floors, kitchen and bathroom surfaces, and wash white cloths, towels, and dishcloths with Jik bleach. Just Jik it. Disinfect and protect your home with Jik. Jik kills 99.9% of illness-causing germs. Disinfect floors, kitchen and bathroom surfaces, and wash white cloths, towels, and dishcloths with Jik bleach. Just Jik it.
Do you know that 35% of every girl child and women are raped on daily basis? Some are killed in the process, some take their lives in shame, others remain emotionally dead for life. It is sad. This culture is not ours, definitely not African. How did we allow bad culture to infiltrate and take over? Even if you lack fear for the law, what of fear of God? And you, why do you cover up rape acts when it happens? Remember, a problem shared is a problem half solved. Never cover any rape act because a rapist is a murderer. It could be you or your loved ones next. Women must be treated like the prize gem they are. Say no to rape.
You're welcome back to Good Morning Nigeria, and to begin our discussion on securing Nigeria's land borders, let's take this background report put together by Musbau and Wahab.
The announcement and subsequent reopening of Nigerian land borders after about 16 months was greeted with mixed feelings. It is a relief for those making a living through import-export of goods at the affected borders.
When neighboring country enter and buy goods from us, and them buy from us, that is exchange of money, exchange of goods, and it will bring development.
But then, illegal trades and movements around the borders is what the country has been battling with for years. The overt motive was to stamp out contraband trade through the land borders as Nigeria shut her borders over a year ago. Other reasons included smuggling of arms and light weapons, drug peddling, and unguarded influx of prohibited items into Nigeria's trade environment through the borders. The effects of illegal trades on internal security and economy are as alarming as they come. Experts have also attributed the unending insurgency and banditry in parts of the north to the porosity of the borders through where the terrorists get supplies for sustenance and reinforcements. Now, following the reopening of some other borders and the African One Market and other international charters and treaties which Nigeria is part of, the worries have increased over the security around the land borders. Nigeria shares boundary with Cameroon, Chad, Niger and Benin Republic. But apart from the 84 approved borders, according to Nigeria Customs Service, the country's security agencies have a lot more illegal entrances to check. So, how to reconcile trans-border trade with internal security will be part of a discussion on Good Morning Nigeria today.
All right, thank you, Musbao, for that report. Now, joining us in Abuja here is the Comptroller General, Nigeria Immigration Service, Muhammad Babandele. Good morning, sir, and it's good to have you on our show this morning.
Good morning, viewers.
And also in Abuja is the former Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of operations, Habila Joshak. Sir, it's good also to have you join us this morning on Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning, viewers, and thank you for having me.
And also joining us via Zoom is Paul Ejime. He's an international affairs analyst. You're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone.
All right, gentlemen, you are once again welcome to this edition of Good Morning Nigeria. Let's begin with the Comptroller General. Developing a border management concept for effective policing of any nation's borders is apt, considering the fact that Nigeria closed her borders for 16 months and now we are back again. We have watched you on several fora talking about the facilities and the number of measures put in place currently to ensure that our borders does not return to its porous nature that actually led to its closure at Benin. Let us have a feel of what has actually happened and why Nigerians should now begin to believe that we are not going to go back again to the days when our borders cannot be trusted with respect to security.
Thank you, viewers. So what is important is a strategy. If you plan to do things, if you don't plan properly, you will go back to the old method of doing things. The president directed the closure of the border for good reason. There were a lot of challenges, and some of these challenges might still persist. Challenges of goods, challenges of people, which threatens security, threatens economy, not only for us, but also for the region. Because when we closed the borders, people thought it was only a Nigeria issue. It's a regional issue. If we prevent people from leaving Nigeria, we are preventing the region from insecurity or goods from leaving Nigeria. So, but for Nigerian Immigration Service, I will not talk about goods. For Nigerian Immigration Service, we have developed a strategy called Border Management Strategy 2019 to 2023. It's a document supported by EU. The European Union supported us and coordinated by International Organization for Migration. And when we were developing this document, we brought in all the actors of the border. All the actors were there, including custom, the military, the security service, civil society. And in that document, we looked at control in three forms. The virtual control, before you come to the border. When I say virtual control, there are many people who will come to our borders who require visa, who will apply for visa, but they will find themselves, for example, in Seme after reaching Ghana or Benin Republic, but they are not members of the ECOWAS community. We have a strategy on control when you arrive at the border and after control. This document has been developed and is being implemented. What we need is just support from government, funding to make sure it is effectively controlled. And during the time of closure, we looked at what we could do to make it better. One of the things we have done is to deploy border management equipment, which we call MIDAS, Migration Information Data Analysis System, MIDAS, at some of the borders. I'm glad to tell you that the first 4 borders that were open, Ilela, Megateri, and Seme. The Seme was the one that doesn't have the MIDAS, but we have installed MIDAS in Seme now, which means we can capture the biometric, biographic, and the picture of every person. But this is small, because most of the people don't like to pass through the borders. They through the plank of the borders. To do that, we have in the document, you will see forward operational basis, which means officers should patrol instead of officers staying at the border waiting for people to come, because attraction is not there for people to pass through land borders. Many people are complaining about the road between Seme to Lagos, a terrible road, taking hours to pass when it is an international route. So if there's an alternative route, why should people come to that hard road? But if the sub-region have developed highways, railway connections, control will be much easier. So we have developed this strategy, and I assure Nigerians that with the government support and funding, even though it is going to be huge funding, and things will change. Especially that Mr. President has approved in council, the e-border. E-border means we can see what is happening at the border real-time online, and we can report to the appropriate authorities who can help for response. Now it is left for government to set a response strategy. Law enforcement must respond to problem on time, and that's the key. Once this e-border is completed, when we see threat, we raise this threat to military or to Air Force. The response is key to all the problems, and that is not only for immigration but global security issues. Ability to respond on time is key. So we have the strategy, and I'm glad to say that things will get better, not worse.
Okay, at the 2019 National Border Management Strategy and Action Plan, you said that a safe border is a safe nation, and a border is not a war zone. Where are we on that now? As you know, it's becoming so worrisome the way bandits and terrorists have been crisscrossing our borders in and out, even with the closure of the border. Where are we on that? Is it a war zone now, or is it a safe place for Nigerians and immigrants?
I don't know. You see, sometimes, yes. Why we said that document was developed with the support of international organizations, which sees border not only a security issue. You see, we need to appreciate that our borders, the community at the borders, are the same people. We need to appreciate that. That's why our forefathers realized that the division of Nigeria and Benin, the division between Nigeria and Niger, or with the Cameroon, is an artificial division. We need to have a regional system where we can interact with one another. Unfortunately, after independence, this demarcation has not become more clear. Even though we are Cameroon and Nigeria, or Nigeria and Niger, some of the towns are sitting right across borders. So there's the same culture of people. Sometimes you find out officers even going to take water in another country. It's very sad. So this is a big issue which until government faces and create a buffer zone, government must create a buffer zone between all our land borders, where security officers can patrol, where the differences would be there, but these challenges are still there. Even though we are patrolling, that's why Mr. President set a task force under the Office of the National Security Advisor when during the closure of the border, and it is called Operation Swift Response, where the military, the police, immigration, customs, Department of State services work together to patrol these borders. But the borders are vast, and I don't see physical patrol as an issue. We need to put drones, we need to put technology to make sure these things are done properly. So still, it is a center for trade. People should not neglect. We should not neglect and say, oh, it is a security zone, we should close our borders. No, it's Benin and Nigeria. They have to trade. Niger and Nigeria, they have to trade. They have the same cultural view. Sometimes they attend marriage ceremony of one another. Sometimes they attend festivity of one another. But that should be done without compromising national security. I think this is a key issue which we need to put together.
And part of the strategy, I'm still staying with him briefly, part of the strategy was training and retraining of immigration officers. You're talking about drones, computerization of everything. How has the training sort of impacted on the Nigerian immigration services? And is it in progress, or are we just not starting it?
We have, for me, I argued every day I meet our officers, and each day I train officers. I told them it's not the machine that is a problem. Many people believe that when you put equipment, problems will be solved. The attitude of the officers is number one to me. If you harass people at the border because you have uniform, if you harass people because you have a gun, if you collect bribe from ordinary people because you want to make money, that cannot help in national security. The community need to trust us. And it's not only immigration, all law enforcement. Attitude matters a lot. So we have introduced a training called horsemanship. It is with the support of the Dutch government, the Netherlands, shared a training called horsemanship. How do you treat people the way they want to be treated, not the way you want to treat them? I always give them example. I said, I'm a houseman. If I see a chief in Igbo land, if I send rank cadet to him, I've not done well. Yes. But if I say Igwe, he will appreciate me, because that's how he wants to be treated. But that doesn't compromise me from taking him to detention if he commits a crime. So that is the attitude we have introduced, horseman training, and we have done training for equipment. The equipment we are putting, the Midas equipment, I'm glad to tell you that it is being installed, serviced by immigration officers. It's not done by contractors. All the Midas equipment we are putting in the airport, we have succeeded in the airport, we are putting in the land borders, are being installed by immigration officers themselves. But corruption is another issue, which requires more than training. Yes, you will, just last 2 days, we have officers were arrested in Seme. Some officers called me in the villa that they are going to say me I should help them talk to the people at the same. I said, no, let them test the ground. I said, take the road, go. Whatever you see, report back. And they report back. They reported some officers asked them for money for style. And I have picked the officers. They are with us right now as I'm talking to you for asking for bribe. And asking for bribe is not asking for money. There are many ways to ask for bribe. Oga, save Johnny, it's bribe. Oga, if you come back, will remember us, it's bribe. These are issues we want to put across in the system. And I'm glad to tell you that we are not building a system of corruption that is based on a chain. We're not telling them bring money to me. It's key. If you are collecting bribe from your juniors, and the juniors, your controls are collecting from down, you cannot kill corruption in the system. But if you cut that, that will be a success. And I'm glad to say we're doing that.
I think it's very interesting, to hear this from you, because what Nigerians believe is that the men on the road are collecting for the organs. In fact, you need to even bribe your way to be posted out, where you'll be seeing the money in the first instance. That's what many Nigerians believe. Finally, before we leave you and talk to others, we learned that there are 84 borders which have been formally approved by the Nigerian Customs. And we also know that there are unmanned parts of the borders, areas where security agencies are not present. All right. And how are you managing these 84 official borders? How are you managing these 84 official borders? Or are they not perhaps recognized by your office in terms of facilities you have, in terms of your the workforce that you have or personnel that you have to man these areas?
Let me correct a impression. A border is not approved by an agency. A border, by definition, is a place where there is custom and immigration. Simple. Anybody, anywhere the government feels that this is a place where custom immigration should stay and is a point of entry, is a border. It could be land, it could be air, it could be sea. There are 84 active borders, but we have 15 forward operational bases for patrol. We have mini, we have midi, and we have maxi borders. The big borders, we are concentrating on them. Some of them have international route, like Seme. It's an international route border. Like Ilela, like Umfum. They are international border connected with the countries traveling from long distance. And these borders, what we are doing as a service, we recognize them. We have officers there. We have accommodation for them. But we're also installing machine. What we're trying to do is to upgrade these land borders to the status of airport. If you pass through our airport today, it is not the same airport you see the last 2 years ago. The airports have changed because we have put equipment that we can analyze. Today I can analyze how many trips you make with your photograph as you pass the airport.
So I'm concerned, sorry, I'm not cutting it short, but just to enable you to amplify this question, so you can talk to us directly on the issue in question. The major borders you're talking about, yes, are properly programmed and manned by your men and perhaps other security agencies, but there are many more. They are not manned. This is where we talk about criminality, illegal arms, prostitution, human trafficking, and all of that. So that is where that's the crux of the matter. Otherwise, there would have been no need to close the borders if the major ones are the only ones to man. So what happens to the rest of them that are not properly manned?
That's what I'm saying. That Mr. President said the Operation Swift Response. It's not for them to live at the border. They were to patrol along the flanks of the border. And we have established forward operational bases. Forward operational bases, go and see one in Daura, go and see one in Mfum. The forward operational basis is not located in the border. It's located along the flanks of the borders. 30 officers with patrol vehicles, with communication equipment, with armory, detention center, and they are working on ship. They will go and patrol along the flanks of borders and come back. But that's not enough. The e-border is a solution. These people will carry cameras. Each vehicle, as Mr. President approved e-border, as they patrol, that vehicle will be mounted with the cameras, which will carry data and transmit to the central database. Officers on patrol, they have mobile, they can carry data. So the system is that technology is a solution, and officers don't need to stay at the location to solve the problem. We need to patrol along the flanks of the borders to solve the problem, and this is what we're doing.
Okay, Controller, thank you so much for your opening statements there. I'm sure Nigerians have become more educated on how the borders are manned. Let's now come back to Habila Josiah. It's a pleasure to have you on Good Morning Nigeria, Josiah.
Thank you for having me.
You DIG operations. I remember I interviewed you in Maiduguri during the Safe School Initiative when you went round the borders in Maiduguri. Yes. And can you tell me if things have changed across the borders for security reasons? Has anything changed from when you went there and went around the borders in Nigeria? Has anything changed, or has the insecurity sort of increased because of the porousness of our borders?
From available data and from what we've read, there is a concerted effort by the security agencies, particularly the Immigration and the Customs, supported by other security agencies that also help, like those of them that also prevent trafficking in humans, and also preventing those of them that will be armed out, bringing in arms, in other words, arms proliferation. There has been some attention, and I think that is impacting positively on the way forward. I'm sure if also they develop the ideas of number one, looking at the communities, and then I'm trying as much as possible to buy in the communities, to partner with the securities at the border. You are likely to have some respite, because communities around the various borders do not have the impression that the government is caring for them. There are no existing facilities that they will fall back to. There has been some I think error somewhere where these people have not been really captured. For example, you are not likely to see good hospitals in some of the established borders where we have the Immigration and the Custom in presence. There is also lack of facilities like water, like schools, and the rest of them. If the community borders are captured and they are brought in as partners, they will be able to assist in a great deal in checking the movement of goods and services and some other criminal acts, because they know better. And like the CGI said, it's there are outside the official borders that are established that we have these officers. There are also a lot of the borders that people cross through track roads, motorcycle, and even vehicles could be driven. These are the ones that it's not possible for the security agencies that are saddled with this responsibility to identify. And so what you need to do is to bring in the communities. There are a lot of them who are willing to partner with the government security agencies to give them intelligence and information that can be turned into intelligence, and it's going to do a great deal of checking these activities around these other borders that are very porous and have not been captured by security agencies that are responsible for that duty.
Okay, that's interesting. I think I like the aspect of the community that you brought in here, but as we make progress in this conversation, we'll get to that. For now, let's link up with Paul Ejime, who is an international affairs analyst. Mr. Ejime, you have listened to the Comptroller General of Immigration Service, and he read out some of the measures and strategies already being put in place at our major borders to ensure that we do not return to the days when the borders were so porous that Nigeria started feeling unsafe, because of activities at the borders. Now, from your view, do you see what he said as a panacea, for ensuring that we will have safe borders going forward?
Yes, thank you. I think he has mentioned what they can do at his level, and remember, it has to be a collaborative effort. Collaborative in the sense that at the two layers, one at the national, and then with neighboring countries. But let's tackle the national. I think that is what he has said. Border management has to be, through a strategy that will combine artificial and human intelligence. Artificial intelligence will now capture the assets that you use. You mentioned monitoring, e-border. You'll be able to do surveillance and monitor. That is at one level. How prepared is the custom and then immigration and other security agencies? There is shortage in that area. The border we have is about more than 4,000, kilometers. And what is the strength of the Nigerian immigration and custom to be able to cover it? Well, what you will do, effective job at the areas you can cover, and so that you now use artificial intelligence to do the rest. But even that, the area that is being covered now, like the officer said, I doubt if it's been that effective. There are challenges in the sense that you now need to not only have adequate training for those who are doing it in modern border management. You also have to involve the border communities, like he said, mobilization, sensitization, carry them along, making facilities available to make them believe, to be able to, give you information. It's about information. Intelligence is about the information you are able to process. Somebody is crossing from here, the border is porous, we agree. But it can also be manned. It can also be controlled, even where you don't have the human capacity to have everybody at all the checkpoints. There are so many illegal entry points. That is the issue. And that is why you keep having these, infiltration and circulation of arms, human trafficking. And it was because of security and these other things that Nigeria forced Nigeria into unilateral closure, which is not the best thing to do. So you still need to go there, work with the border communities to make sure the security agents, and then provide them with these facilities that will make them feel to belong, to be able to cooperate with you, to give you the information that you require to stem criminality, because that is what it is. But if you are not carrying them along, you are going to have some difficulties. If the personnel are not adequately trained to be able to even handle the equipment or whatever, or they don't have the integrity to resist you have mentioned bribery and corruption. It's there. That much of, at times, the money that is supposed to go into government covers will end up in private pockets. All those things will have to be stemmed. So it is, a much more, hydra-headed challenge, but it can be tackled through some of these plans. But plan is one thing. What is the effectiveness? How are you going to put them in place? Now, like I said, you begin from at the national level and then escalate it to involve the border, your neighbors. Your neighbors, that is going international. And still at the national level, the border communities will have to play a part. Not only the security agency, they, involve community leaders, faith-based organizations, civil society, everybody. It is a collective responsibility because it has to do with security. So it's the issue is still inadequacy. The customs, I read during your press review, you talked about what the customs have been able to generate. They can do more. Even at when you are at the best performance, there is still room for improvement. Imagine what Nigeria can gain. Look at Nigeria has a large market, 200. Ghana has the factories. Part of the problem they had during the closure is that they didn't have the possibility of bringing their factories were just producing and they were not bringing the goods to Nigeria. Now Nigerians, the taste, the foreign taste for foreign goods that Nigeria. If you can produce something in Badagry and then take it across, stamp it as made in Italy and made in anywhere, and Nigerians will come, run after it. So, but all these things we have to curb our taste for. That is another issue. But let us concentrate on the border issue. Management is still a far cry. It has to take into account that we don't have to go back to this issue of taking action that will anger our neighbors. Your neighbor is the greatest security officer that you have because they are the ones that will give you the information that will be useful to fight criminality. But if you are isolating them by your attitude, the money will not come to you. You are losing money. You are also losing in terms of the fact that you are of insecurity. They will allow your room, your place to be invaded. Look at the fighting of Boko Haram, Sambisa and all that. There was a time, Chad, the president of Chad had to be involved in one of the operations when Boko Haram, they were moving so close into Chad. He jumped into the fray. To be part of it, to go, become part of the foot soldiers. It shouldn't come to that. It is because the system has failed. And those who are supposed to do it, those who are supposed to present that defense, they have failed. That was why, you have all these incursions, insurrections. They can be curbed, but it has to come with effectiveness in border management, collaboration, cooperation, partnership with internally, and then with neighboring countries. I think that way, with all the arms, with all the elements, all the agencies that will have to do it. It's not if you pass through the Seme or Idiroko, you have how many checkpoints? ECOWAS has talked about it, that you have too many checkpoints. That is not where the issue is. The issue is not preventing them from coming in. It's not after they have come in that then you now begin to do what you have. Already, the goat has escaped. The train has left the station. You should stop it at that defense. Present a preventive defense mechanism that prevents the criminals from entry. Because once they are in, you can never control the activities they will take up. So that will be my contribution. It's still work in progress. The customs, immigration, they still have to do their bit. The border communities and all the agencies. The man on the street, we also have to curb our things like I said, for foreign goods. Let's eat what we can produce and produce what we can send out through.
Mr. Paul Ejime, yes. I would like to cut in there. We thank you for your opening comment. We are now being joined by Dr. Ona Homo, who is the President, Association of Industrial Security and Safety Operations of Nigeria. We thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, you've had the opening comments from our guest here in the studio and Mr. Paul Ejime about the securing our borders. Let me ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, can you assess the impact of the closure of the border on Nigeria's economy and how it has affected people across the borders, and if it is in the positive for the country?
Thank you very much, ma'am. Well, I don't know if I'm competent to assess the effect of the border closure on the economy, except that I read news reports about producers being happy when the borders were closed. And then when my wife goes to the market, she complains about the high prices of food and all that. But I think I would rather look at the effect of the border closure from the point of view of security. How has it affected the security of this nation? And I think, to me, that is the litmus test, because if a policy measure of the magnitude of border closure does not profoundly impact the security of lives and property in Nigeria, then there's a problem. So, but I think in this case, I would say that we have to look at how the security is, or what the problems are, what the vulnerabilities. I think that's how I prefer to call them. For example, we have all these illegal crossing paths, illegal bush paths. We have Okada routes through the borders. We know that we have more crossing areas than we have immigration officers. We don't really have effective management of our borders. What Baba Mutum, Mr. Babandede and his people are doing, they are manning very effectively the approved borders. That's Muritara Mohammed and other land borders and, land borders, sea borders, what have you. But the problem, or I don't want to say the vulnerability, I don't want to go to the threat yet. The vulnerability here is that the illegal crossing, I think, which a minister put at 2,000 around the country, those are the real problems. Now, the federal government recently opened up 5 border posts, which is great. But those are 5. When you have 2,000 illegal crossing routes, so what happens to those ones? How do we man those? That is really the challenge here. E-borders are great. And the other technologies that are being employed by NIS, they are fantastic. They are helping to keep Nigerians safe. At least those people who are lawful, either immigration or out migration, we are able to keep track of in terms of the difficulty we have, human trafficking, infiltration by terrorists, at least through the normal borders. But my problem is you can see the manifestation of insecurity as is occurring in the Northwest right now. Because a lot of the threat, now I'm going to threat, now a lot of the threat we are seeing in terms of the people who are coming in and conducting a lot of, governing those ungoverned spaces in near Rugu Forest, that 5-state area, Sokoto, Zamfara, Kebbi, I might add Megida's state, Kebbi, Kaduna, Katsina. Those Niger, of course, certainly. A lot of those elements we have there. Yes, we have Nigerian grown problem. Certainly, we have a lot of that. But much of what we are seeing right now is Mujao movement, through the Sahelian zone into the country. And I've said this so many times before. I don't know, when we are going to really get up something about it. So I think we need to stand the threat from that perspective and then understand that, in fact, the more profound issue is the security implication of border closure and border governance, border management, how we can more effectively manage those unmanned border routes rather than just, certainly what we are doing in terms of the regular routes are important because most people are law-abiding, but then we'll have the criminal elements who are going to give us a black eye if we don't do anything about it.
Now, let me just stay with you for a while, because designing and building, border management into systems actually is more effective and efficient when it's fully incorporated into border activities. Now, you have given us an idea of what happens when some border areas are not manned. Just a few days ago, the governor of Niger State visited the president of Nigeria, complaining so bitterly about his experience in Niger State, and that has to do with banditry and even the local support that the bandits are getting and all of that. Now, as an expert in this area, what would you advise the government to do with respect to ensuring that those unmanned border areas could be manned? Mr. Jimmy talked about artificial intelligence. To what extent can this be useful? You call it technology, they're all the same, but how can this be deployed effectively? Because, of course, you have mentioned that the immigration is manning the major borders very efficiently, as it were. But then those other unmanned areas are, of course, the crux of the matter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kiran. I think Mr. Ejime, when he made his opening remarks, he said something very important. He said that the using of the locals to generate intelligence, to get intelligence. Now, I want to go a step further. And of course, certainly, like he said, you have to sensitize the locals. You have to tell them what you are looking for. You have to enroll them to gather information for you. But the locals have no powers of their own. They are victims. They are going to be attacked by these infiltrants and what have you. So let's not worry about that. This is the same locals that are being kidnapped us in Zamfara State, in Niger State. I'm sure you learned of recent attacks in the past few days in Niger State where many are either killed or taken away and all that, to just for ransom payment, because the guys have to get capability. They have to get funding to buy more weapons to attack us even more. But having said that, I think I want to, and I am happy that Megida Babandida is here with us today. I want to say to him that he should propose to the federal government to do a 10,000-man immigration special deputization program. What do I mean by that? He needs to get at least, because one of the big problems of immigration, I don't know who said it, just whether it's DIG Joshua or Mr. Ejime, one of the big problems they have is they don't have manpower. It's a very thin agency. Yet we have a 4,000 kilometer border. And so it doesn't work because you must have the manpower to do the work. But I'm not talking about the really skilled, trained manpower, the people who do the e-borders and all the self-pack and all the nice things that immigration does. I'm talking about people who just do border line for us. And what do I mean by that? We must have ability to patrol, because we know most of the infiltrants are coming in with motorbikes. That's how you hear they attacked a place in Zamfara and they came with 100 motorbikes. How do you think they got the motorbikes? They rode into Nigeria. That's how they got the motorbikes. So what I'm saying is, let us get a special squad, because these guys don't have to go through the 6 months of, please, I'm sorry, correct me, Megida, if I'm wrong, 6 months of regular immigration training or whatever. Let them go through a crash program. We have youth unemployment problem in this country. Why? I'm sure that the federal government, certainly Office of the National Security Advisor or the presidency, can provide funding to do a special program that will run for the next 6 months or even for the next 1 year to try to bring sanity to our border by bringing this special squad in and having them do the patrolling. Let them, because you see, we say desperate ailments require desperate remedies. We have a desperate ailment of perhaps, if you may, invasion of this country today. And we really need to tackle that. Let these people go out there, and then there will now be a semblance of security. Now, when you have these people on the borders, they will be able to, you will now have Nigerian flag put on the Nigerian side, so we know which is our side of the border. You begin to have local subnational entities, that is state governments and local governments, provide schools and hospitals in these places because there are federal officers there. But you know, if you don't have that kind of an architecture that brings together manning the, providing some even just minimal level of services, you have a situation where, you know, we are going to sit and be, I believe a year ago we were talking about these same things. We are going to sit and be talking about it next year, the other year, while the problem gets worse. So we don't want that. And I want to commend the DIG and the IG, the DG NIS for CG, NIS, Mr. Babanide, for the improvements. I just came through a border and I have seen a lot of improvements in the normal border. So that's great. But now what I'm talking about is the security coming through the bushes, not the regular borders. Those ones are a little thinner now. And there's a lot of synergy there. And they are doing a great job.
Dr. Onakomo, thank you so much for your insight into our topic of discussion. We'll now come back to Comptroller General Babandide. He has raised a lot of pertinent questions that you are shaking your head, and I feel you would like to respond to it.
Yeah, I think all the participants raised fundamental questions. And for us, a criticism is good for government. If observation is done by those who observe what we do, it is an opportunity for us to work better. But I want to make one impression very clear. People see crossing illegal across borders as crime only. It's not only crime. There are no incentive for normal crossing across our West African borders. We copied the Schengen system or the EU system of free movement among member states, because if you are a member of ECOWAS, you are a citizen of an ECOWAS country. The idea is for you to move freely across the borders. But when those governments in the regions have not provided opportunity for you to do that movement, you can move through anywhere. The incentives are not there. Look at the EU. There are highways across Belgium, Germany, Netherlands. You don't need to go through the bush. There are railway connections around. But if you look at our region, there is no huge investment in terms of roads. In short, it is much easier for you to go to France from Abuja than to go to the capital of Niger. You know, it is sad. So if you have a village across Nigerian border and you have a road far away where immigration or custom is seated, and the road is even worse than the bush, people will take the bush. So I don't want people to see illegal crossing only in terms of the negative side of it. We need to build infrastructure. The regions, recently the Nigerian government was trying to build a railway towards Niger. That's how the EU system works. Niger should bring railway to connect to Nigeria. So it is easier for people to take the railway line to go to Niger. You can control better because there are opportunities for people. So this one must be clear. Involving community is key. If you want to work, not only immigration, but even in policing. We are also police. When we say police, we are also police. We are border police. We need to get the competence of the people. And the competence of the people is not only from the officers alone. It's from the government at all levels. If you have a state along Nigerian-Benin border or Nigerian-Niger border, and that local government has not provided any facility, people are just looking at federal government. It's not only federal government. Governments at all levels need to provide that opportunity. If you have facilities, you have electricity, you have water, you have small road at the local government level, and then the officers are well trained, it will take it easier for you to cooperate with the community. When that community, I went to a border committee in Benin, in Benue. When I went to the community, they say, you are welcome. Welcome, President Buhari. Welcome, Governor. They said they don't see anybody until January election. The road, they had to put plank for me to cross with the vehicle. So please let us talk of community policing or community border relationship based on the infrastructure and facilities we have given, so that they can have confidence in their local government, they have confidence in their government. But I thank Dr. Ona for telling us to employ more people. It's a good idea, but I keep saying that investment in men is better than investment in equipment. If we have enough additional people, we can take care of the non-conventional borders. What he said is correct. We have invested a lot in the approved border, but we need to invest more on areas where people are passing illegally. One of the strategies we did is a forward operational base. We have forward operation, but they are not located at the border. They are located along the flanks of the border so that we patrol. Technology is another solution, where officers on patrol, they can take a video, they can transmit as their patrol, they can be seen as their patrol so that they don't compromise. I think it's a solution to the problem. But for us, as far as the service we are concerned, we need to have a system together with the custom, together with any agency. I keep saying there is no good administration at the land borders like there are in the airport or seaport. If you go to Murtala Mohammed Airport, you have an administrative system where you have fund, for example, immigration, custom operate under system. But at the land borders, everybody operates on his own. So cooperation is very difficult. As a service, we try to work. That's why when Mr. President set up Operation Sweet Response, it became an opportunity. It's an opportunity for custom, immigration, the military to work together. Hand to hand is good. But as he said, it's not only a local issue, it's a regional issue. Immigration invited head of immigration of the whole sub-region. It makes sense if today somebody crossed to Niger, I can call the head of Niger immigration. I said, there is a problem, and he can respond. And I'm glad that cooperation has helped. We have 36 convictions just along Jibia Sokoto axis for people who have crossed illegally. They have reached Niger, and Niger brought them, and we charge them for illegal crossing. Cooperation is a key if we want to combat transnational crime.
Okay, still talking about cooperation, Dr. Ona raised a very fundamental question, and that is enhancing the manpower of the immigration service. Some have retired, some have died, some have resigned. Have you been able to, bring in more people to take the places that is sort of vacant?
It's very difficult. We have every year we are losing almost 400 staffs. They are retired, almost 400 every year, a lot of retired, and we're not replacing them. We have just got approval to do recruitment. It is taking a long time to do this recruitment. But the minister is doing his best to make sure it is done properly. A lot of internet fraud on this. People are saying money is collected, but thank God we recruit. But the slot we are giving is only 4,000. So you can see we cannot replace the number if we can get 10,000. I cannot be able to talk much. Dr. Ona can talk much on our behalf, and I thank him for talking much on that. But I think increased number of staffs will help the problem.
Okay, thank you very much. There's one aspect of your point that actually struck me, which has to do with the issue of ECOWAS system, which of course you say will copy the EU and what have you. But only the reverse is the case in terms of the positivity of what that policy should have meant. So because criminals are now using the opportunity of that window, to now infest the region. Because what we're talking about now is that Nigeria is unsafe because of the ungoverned areas, vast ungoverned areas in the country, and from there they are attacking the cities, attacking communities, and that's not the best for us. So that's a good idea, really, to have ECOWAS or have a regional cooperation and collaboration and what have you. Now we're talking about Africa's one market system that's going to happen, and I'm sure you're going to have more jobs to do when that happens. Now, before we go on break, actually, let us bring in Habila Joshua, just very briefly before we go on break. Building 21st century border management requires development of specific capabilities. Nigeria is well known to you, and you have listened to contributors this morning, on what can be done to sustain security at our borders. We have several issues unaccounted for in terms of taking, developing measures that can ensure security of our borders. I mean, you've also mentioned the fact that the porosity of the borders has always become a very huge problem. That's why we're trying to introduce either artificial intelligence or technology, as the case may be. What is your view on what can be done? Because from all we have seen this morning, there's an indication that there's a lot of job to do, a lot of job needs to be done.
Yes, there are a lot to do. And one of those things, like I said, is number one, the personnel that are deployed to the border. I was Commissioner of Police, Border Patrol, and I was also area commander in Festac, and I had the responsibility of supervising the police officers in Seme in 2008. What I know that we should do quickly is the men that are deployed, whether they're immigration, customs, the police, particularly the mobile police or the military. We have the mobile police and the military also to support these agencies that are directly responsible for the border management and control. Because there were times where people will come in armed, marauding firearm bearers, coming into a border and take a shot at the people. And of course, you know, with that, it creates a lot of fear. And that was why the mobile police were deployed. A lot of them have been deployed to these various areas. But like I said, and some of the borders that also I have visited, I know that if the government deliberately focus on the border communities and find out what their challenges are, because they're living on the proceed. They are living on the proceed of smuggling. Some of them would tell you that their forefathers were smugglers. And so they look at the situation where there have been no attention, government attention that is paid to these communities in hospitals, social amenities like water, schools and the rest. And so what they do is to perpetrate their means of living through aiding and abetting smuggling. And that's why you have a lot of porous areas where they can take a shot through trekking, they can also go through the motorcycle and the rest of it. But if you capture this one and try as much as possible to make them look as citizens of the country by giving the basic necessary social amenities, and then capture them and call them into the border patrol and give them a role. The local government, at the local government level and at the state level, you are likely to see a lot of improvement. Having said that, there's also the problem of security agencies collaborating. There is this superiority of complex. We know the immigration and the customs have a great responsibility of ensuring this border movement and what have you through the ECOWAS and other agreements. The other supporting forces, because the police and the military should be supportive, and so inferiority of complex and ability to begin to struggle who is better, who is higher is the problem. So we should know that if you come in there as a police officer, you are to give assistance. You are also to work closely with the immigration and the customs. And therefore, you should not come in there and show superiority. And so there's no synergy, there's no good relationship that is created out there with the men. And the officers that are there should be cared for, their welfare. Places where they are to stay must well be kept. And allowances must be given so that these people don't compromise. It is when they don't have all this that you see some of them compromise. And so when you bring in like I said, collaboration between the border communities with these other officers that are deployed to the border, I think we have Nigeria should have the capacity to make sure that those that are coming in are supposed to come in, and those of them that are coming in maybe to trade on humans and what have you will be picked
and face the full wrath of the law.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Deputy Inspector General of Police and retired DIG. We'll take a break right now. When we return, our conversation on securing Nigerian borders will continue.
For over 70 years, we've practiced healthy hygiene habits together. The world needs us to keep our fight going against germs. So let's wash our hands for 20 seconds regularly. Dettol. Protect what's worth fighting for.
My name is
Idris Nando Jamda
Muhammad Stevita Hussein Musa Goduna Joel Tinji Said Musa John.
I'm a carpenter. I've been doing this for more than 8 years now.
Ina sai da plantain na kai kimamin shekara 3.
I've been selling my tomatoes for about 10 years now, and I do it for a better Nigeria.
And I do it for a better Nigeria.
Ina wannan sana'ar lemu ne domin Najeriya ta ci gaba. Ina sa domin Najeriya ta kyau.
And you can see how we are doing our small little work to make Nigeria great.
As you can see, I'm a technician and I'm doing it to help myself and to help my generation. Ina zaune ne a plateau na business. Kuma ina yin wannan domin ci gaban ƙasar nan.
A new edition of TV Guide is out with special focus on the game changer, His Excellency Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State. Broadcasting in a digital economy, Maxwell Logo gives an insight. This edition also features Nancy Naji of AIT, a name synonymous with business. Meet the NCDC boss, Dr. Chikwe Ihekweazu. TV Guide, your indispensable companion, also x-rays the relevance of social media in the modern society. Meet some TV professionals who have impacted their spaces and other inspiring stories in sports, entertainment, and lots more. Grab a copy at the vendor near you or NTA stations nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
Dialogue, empathy, love and unity. These are vital components of nation building.
For all to be well, we appeal that we should refrain from volatile, provocative, inciting messages and language.
Let's build and not destroy.
Thanks for rejoining us. Now, a number of tweets have come in during the break. I would like to take some of them before we rejoin our guest and continue the conversation. We'll begin with Sheriff Ibrahim. Electronic security, as planned for, will do to secure Nigerian borders. Meanwhile, we need patriotic officers that will serve selflessly, not just for their own personal growth.
From Comrade Lingala, most of our borders are porous, where illegal activities are taking place. Government should improve on border patrol. Federal government should also construct good routes that will link the borders with other countries. And
Mutano Farouk tweets, the porosity of Nigerian borders can be mitigated if the cost of production in Nigeria is lower than the cost of importation. Government should reduce the price of PMS, VAT, and the electricity tariff. These three things are ravaging Nigerians and their businesses. Hunger causes insecurity.
Olamideji Morufu says open borders in full capacity and collect legal duty on every item legalized. It will increase revenues if holistically monitored. They must upgrade border policing digitally. And Leo Fadaka tweets, our borders can be secured if officers and men in charge are not compromised. Electronic surveillance can be useful in the long, porous borderline with many countries. All smugglings are localized, so border communities must be monitored. First, Akim Boyawa says it's good. Federal government has reopened our borders because they are essential for lawful trade and travel. It may be difficult to police the thousands of miles of land, rivers and lakes we share with our neighbors. Federal government must protect our borders from smuggling of weapons, drugs, contraband and criminals. And Law Alpha tweets, the insistent banditry and terrorism witnessed across the country was not unconnected with the porosity of our different borders. No thanks to inadequacy of security manpower and poor net welfare package for those holding sway. All right, WEAP says if we can possibly know and block all the illegal points of entry as well, then the law enforcement agencies and the military will, with the aid of drones, must endeavor to stop potentially harmful people and goods before they enter the country, and thus create the last line of defense against foreign threats. God bless Nigeria. Stephen Dada, the border with Niger Republic is almost non-existent. Cultural ties have also made it difficult to enforce sincere monitoring. All right, and Ibrahim Tudu, yes, our borders are porous, but the reality is the current hands of corrupt hands of immigration, customs and police officers are more porous. If you make a sting operation in any border point, you will arrest many officers. They beg, demand, and take bribes and compromise their duties.
Yes, and
that's according to Ibrahim Tudu.
Yes, and Yunus Idris tweets, border closing in the 21st century is a wrong idea. We are in an era of technology and innovation. Government should invest in it.
All right, let's bring in Mr. Ejime once more. Sir, you have listened to contributions of other guests, a short while ago, trying to profess solutions and of course, expand the horizon of this conversation with respect to what can be done to ensure the security of our borders. Now, someone talked about engaging the border communities, and one of the tweets also says that, look, that the border communities are totally involved in any smuggling activities in those areas, because they are the people that know the tracks, that smugglers use. And according to one of our guests here too, that some would tell you that their forefathers smuggled because of negligence of these communities by government of not just Nigeria, but other neighboring countries. Right now, I want to ask you this: what should be our relationship with other nations that we are bordering with? Because one, we have a border. That means we are sharing the border with other countries. What should be the kind of synergy that should exist between our government and the governments of those countries to also ensure that they make their own contribution, to ensuring a well-secured border? I recall that at the incipient of the closure of the borders, according to the president, they raised a joint task force from both Nigeria and those countries. I didn't know how that worked, but in your opinion, what should be done currently now that our borders have been opened? How should our government engage the government of our neighboring countries?
Thank you, Nima. Well, the guests have all said in the CG security, Hakilome and the police officer. The point really is there is no rocket science there. What should be done is collaborative partnership. That way you will never get it wrong. I know that the ECOWAS, well, it's only Niger that falls under ECOWAS. Chad is not there. Cameroon is also on another place. And so, but this Nigeria has what you call national commissions, or some collaborative effort where they meet at the political, economic level. They talk. I think those instruments to be rejuvenated. They have to. It has to be sustained. It's not a one-off thing, because what happens is that Niger or fire brigade, when there is fire to fight, you finish, and then you wait until there's another fire. No. It has to be a continuous thing, knowing that, like I keep saying, your neighbor is your greatest security officer. Nigeria is losing economically and then suffering from insecurity because of this lack of effectiveness. So there has to be that collaboration, but we still need to get our own act together, through all the interagency collaboration. There has to be structured engagement. For everybody to know their role. What are they supposed to do? The immigration, custom, the police, and every other person that is involved. And then you mentioned the community. You can never leave them out of it. I know that Yakilome said, well, they are also victims. Yes, but they live there. They know everybody. So if a foreigner comes into a place, remember these villages. If a foreigner comes in, it's easier for them to identify who is not one of them. And then they can report to the agencies. What happens now when the agencies now take up that is another matter. But let us begin from there, to incorporate them, to cultivate them, to make them belong. We have talked about the lack of amenities. There are no roads, there is no hospital, there are no social amenities. That has to be a priority, to make them see the need to cooperate. Because if they are isolated, they will even be the ones to encourage these foreigners to infiltrate us, to come in and finish their job, and then maybe from there they can get maybe what the country is not giving them. When they finish the operation, corruption, they will give them something and say, don't worry, they move. But that shouldn't be the case. Well, we have to now fire their sense of patriotism to know that when it's rain, that beats on, when it falls, it beats on all the roofs. Nobody is spared. They are not safe. The people in Abuja are not safe. People in Lagos are not safe. So it is a collective responsibility. So there has to be, now take up what you can call risk assessment to know what is working and what is not working. So what? Opportunities and, challenge, weaknesses. Know which are the areas where they caught the immigration. They have done well in some places. How can they replicate that in other places? In these areas that are not, you can't man, I sympathize with them. They don't have the personnel or even the equipment to go around. But let them be effective in the areas where they are working, so they can now, graduate the gains, accumulate, consolidate on the gains that they have gotten, both at the airport, at the land borders, and then the sea. Remember, there is also the sea area, the Gulf of Guinea, where you have Equatorial Guinea and, Sao Tome and Principe. These are all, Nigeria has a landmass of 923,000 square kilometers. So it is a huge place. And so to man that, to be able to do a good job of it, requires the effectiveness of those who are, Yakum talked about employing more. Yes, you can do that. But remember what has happened with the civilian, task forces. We can't depend on task forces. We have to let those who are charged with the operation to do it by enabling them, empowering them. And they also to see the need that, they need to do their job. They have to do their job like every other person. They are paid to do it. Let them be, show example. Leadership, government should also, the empowerment will be with the welfare of these officers. And then we now ask questions for accountability. When anybody, there has to be reward and punishment. When you do well, you are rewarded, and you don't do well, there are consequences for actions. What happens is that there's a lot of impunity, from the top to the bottom. That is why things are not working. We have to take care of that, and then take care of collaboration and make sure that we get it right. We are blessed by the fact that we have the largest, in fact, Nigeria has 1.2 square kilometers. We have only 900, less than 1 million. And they are still surviving. So Nigeria can do it. With the resources that we have, let us manage it very well, effectively, to cover where we can cover. The area we can cover, we work towards using, I mentioned, artificial and human intelligence. Those are the things. E-border. It's all about being where you are, monitor things and be able, but you also need to go there. I heard the CG saying that when he went somewhere, he was, because they've never seen officials. That shouldn't be. And you expect those people to cooperate with you? They will let in criminals instead of cooperating with you. If you isolate them. So there has to be that inclusiveness in the strategy for effective border management. I think I'll stop there.
Mr. Paul Ejime, thank you. Would now like to join Dr. Ona Ekomo. And we've been talking about borders between Nigeria and other countries. Let's now come back to within the system, Nigerian system itself. Can you tell us about the current synergy between state and non-state actors involved in management of Nigeria's borders? Is it adequate? In your final thoughts, let's have that, please. Dr. Ona, can you hear me?
Hello, man. Sorry. I didn't hear.
Yes, I was talking about.
Repeat the question. I'm sorry.
Yes, we've been talking about Nigerian borders with other countries. Let's come back home here and talk about the current synergy between states and non-state actors involved in management of Nigerian borders. Can you tell us in your closing comments if it is adequate enough?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the civil society has to get involved in border management issues and become engaged with the immigration agency in this respect. They will be able to, they have capabilities to generate a lot of data, do quality assurance in terms of surveillance of what is going on with the border management, and then liaise with the immigration agency in terms of process improvements, improve effectiveness analysis. In fact, very importantly also cost effectiveness analysis, because I know that funding is obviously a big part of the problem here. I think there is a lot of room for CSOs that are engaged, that work in the immigration space, to work with NIS. And I believe, I remember in a previous program on this your own channel here, I think whether is, I don't know, the big guy of IOM, International Office of Migration, was on the program with myself and Mr. Babandede, and he commended the immigration agency in very vivid on how they've been able to collaborate with them. I think they were trying to launch some e-border initiatives at the time. And so I think this is something that needs to also happen is we need to get more Nigerian, not just these foreign NGOs that are domesticated here, but we also need to get Nigerian-based NGOs that are size, that are
well, of which we have lost Dr. Ikomu there, but he's back. You go ahead and conclude.
Sorry.
All right, thank you very much indeed, Dr. Ikomu. Now, back here, let's ask the Comptroller General of Nigerian Immigration to, of course, give us his closing thoughts on this matter. Of course, you have a lot of job on your hands, and we believe that with the strategies of, laid out here this morning, it does appear that your agency is doing something to, of course, to see how borders can be secured.
First, it is important to work with the community. And I'm glad to say that in Katsina there is a model. I'm impressed with the move done by the Emir of Katsina, where he is reactivating the traditional system to assist law enforcement, including border community. When the British came, they found an institution that was working. So they use it as indirect rule. But when we, the Africans who took over from the white, we forgot those institutions, we only use them as museum to work. In the olden days, I know, in our society, the Meangwa, the man who lives in the rural community, knows every person who comes in. He knows. And he reports back up to the emir within a short time. It is difficult for you to have law enforcement posted from Kano to Lagos to understand things better than the man, than the Oba and the system on ground. So this system has been reactivated, like in Katsina. I've seen them inaugurated recently and it's working. So we too will continue to work with the traditional institution, with the local community to make sure we launch. The minister has tasked us already to launch a border community relation. But we cannot do it because of COVID-19. We wanted to bring all the members of the community to work with us to establish this, so we will do it. But we are consolidating, thanks to Dr. Ona, we are consolidating. The airports are secured in terms of mobility. We have installed equipment in the airports. Modern technology equipment are secured. We are moving to those conventional borders, establishing the Midas system. And by this year, we hope we shall be able to do more patrol, carrying mobile Midas, where when you come across a person, you can take his biometric pictures and come and upload it into the system. I think that's the only solution that can assist in terms of securing the border. The men, training is key. Reward is key. Each year we do an annual award for those who can distinguish themselves by honest, by returning money from migrant, by refusing to take bribe. Remember, an immigration officer is one of the person who refused to take bribe. When it comes to the tankers, the number of tankers that were taken during the closure of the border, several borders, hundreds of tankers were taken away. An immigration officer refused to participate in that, and he has been commended by Mr. President, and he was one of the officers we have rewarded in the award night in December. So we reward, we punish. I think it's key to management.
Okay, thank you so much. And Josak, yes, your closing comment, DIG?
Yes, yes, said it all.
Briefly?
Yes. I would like also the government to mirror on some juggernauts whose responsibility is to plan, sponsor the movement, illegal movement of goods and services, particularly petroleum products, into other countries and bring in humans and what have you, and also to try to couch the security agencies to compromise. Some of them are big names, and they should also be dealt with.
All right, at this point, I'd like to appreciate all our guests this morning on Good Morning Nigeria. First of all, Comptroller General, Nigerian Immigration Service, Mohammed Babandide, we appreciate you. Thank you indeed. And of course, the former Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of operations, Habila Joshak. It's been a pleasure talking to you this morning.
Thank you.
General Vizium, President, Association of Industrial Security and Safety Operations of Nigeria, Dr. Ona Ekomu, and of course, Paul Ejime, an international affairs analyst. We appreciate your contributions and thank you so much for doing that. All right, at this point, we are concluding this edition of Good Morning Nigeria. My name is Kirian Umaira. Thank you for watching, and join us again tomorrow for another fresh edition of the Good Morning Show.
And I'm Juma Yusuf. Thanks so much for joining us. Do have a great day, and please remember to stay safe.